I'm gonna be honest, guys. This might be a little difficult to get through for me, but I'm gonna uh, just go ahead and try to rock it out. So let's go ahead and do this.
The creator of Dragon Ball, one of the most influential and best-selling Japanese comics, has died at the age of 68. Akira Toriyama was 68. An official statement said he'd suffered a blood clot on the brain. Dragon Ball was first serialized 40 years ago. It became a huge hit worldwide, spawning cartoons, films and video games. The series features a boy who collects magical balls containing dragons to defend the world from evil enemies. The studio said he was working on several projects when he died. Well, for more on this, let's speak to Dr. Raina Dennison, a professor in film.
So, yeah, I'm gonna continue to let this play, but first thing, the petty in me just can't let that slide. No, that's not true. The Dragon Balls do not contain dragons. The Dragon Balls contain a dragon. Be specific, be respectful.
And digital arts at the University of Bristol. Tell us about the legacy that he leaves behind.
Akira Toriyama is one of the most influential manga artists that there has ever been. He's influenced a whole genre of manga in Japan, known as shonen manga or boys manga, which is the most popular in Japan and around the world, influencing creators of shows and manga like Naruto and One Piece, of course, as well as being someone who has influenced everything from art exhibitions through to protests in places like South America. He's a huge influential figure within this field.
And tell us particularly about Dragon Ball. We can see some characters on the screen there. That in particular, a huge franchise. Many of our viewers will know it very well.
So, I have a long-standing history with the series Dragon Ball because for those of you that don't know, you wouldn't know because I don't really put it out there on my YouTube channel unless you catch the little references here and there. But I'm pretty geeky. So it's like I'm really into not as much as I used to be, but I'm really into Japanese anime and manga, really comics in general, fiction, just, stories, Game of Thrones, all that kind of stuff. But my ever since childhood, it's always been about anime, you know what I mean? And one of those longest standing anime that I've always, ever since I can remember, has been part of my life, has been Dragon Ball. And Dragon Ball Z specifically, because that's around the time that I was born. I'm a 90s baby. So that's the truth. So I grew up with Dragon Ball Z, seeing Dragon Ball Z on Toonami and all that kind of stuff. And it's always been a part of my life. Ever since I can remember, it's always been Pokemon, Digimon, Dragon Ball Z. And that was my childhood for the most part. Now, see, the reason why I like this stuff so much is because it just always appealed to me. And, just if you really actually pay attention to the storylines and what the authors are trying to communicate through these series where they're basically creating series with these amazing fights. You know what I mean? It's these amazing fights and it's entertaining the younger boys, but there's always this underlying message. And that's why anime always, and even just manga in general, the genre always appealed to me because it stood for something and it was always trying to communicate something. And when you really paid attention to it, somebody like me who's an overthinker, it was able to just make my brain go, and then it was able to, in turn, help me decide the type of person that I want to be in life and what I want to stand for. Now, the problem is a lot of that led to me being very idealistic as a young kid, but that's always at the end of the day, the integrity and the desire to do good and to see people doing well, even if, at my own expense, a lot of that roots from what I've witnessed from anime, from my favorite anime characters. And after a while, some eventually, I got on the Naruto, but that became like quote unquote my favorite anime, or one of them. But let's see, what else do I really like? I like Tengen Toppa Gurren Lagann. That's probably my favorite anime of all time. If but it's just, when you look at it, all of the things that most people like nowadays, like the One Piece, the Jujutsu Kaisen, the Demon Slayer, all these different anime and manga that people are watching now, One Punch Man, they all were influenced and they all spawned off of Dragon Ball. So Dragon Ball, the influence is there. It's the most influence ever since, even to this day. If you're in any kind of anime community, or you have anybody that knows about anime, they're always comparing Goku or whoever it is to whoever. Dragon Ball is the bar that people set. Goku is the bar that people set. That's how they judge. Like, can you understand how influential you have to be to where your character is the bar for how other characters judged or are judged on their strength? But again, it's fun, but it teaches a message. And I just, what I mean? It's like I don't want to just ramble. But it's like just thinking about so much. It's like it just really kind of just blows me that the guy that created it is no longer here, because he was still very active in the series. Still had a lot more to go. And I just think about it sometimes, because even like, I had really religious parents. And so I remember they went through a phase where when I was a kid, they wouldn't let me watch Dragon Ball Z anymore. So I remember I was just pissed. But so then I found a workaround. Because then if you remember on Toonami, they would play Dragon Ball first. Remember because at first they had the original Dragon Ball Z, where, with the ocean dub. That's where a lot of people don't know the difference, but that's when they had those weird voices. But then they put up then that's the one that we know, the one with the nice rock music, the Bruce Falconer music and all that kind of stuff. That's the Dragon Ball Z that I remember. And that Dragon Ball Z, they used to play Dragon Ball first, and then Dragon Ball Z would come on. And then I would go, and then, so I go over my grandma's house, right? We'd be over grandma's house, and then, because I wasn't the type of guy that was just outside, and that just wasn't me. I didn't connect with people like that. I didn't really know people that lived around me, and so, until later, and I didn't really have much to do but watch TV. That was my life. Watching TV. And so it was important to me to be able to watch the things that I like. So being deprived of that, it was just something that I wasn't willing to accept. So I would just watch Dragon Ball. It's something different, right? It's Dragon Ball. It's not Dragon Ball Z. Trying to, semantics. Eventually that fell through. Then it got to the point where, okay, now I just got to sneak and watch it. So I would just sneak and watch it. And it's the truth. Just sneak and watch it, change the channel whenever something else come on. The exact same way we used to sneak and watch adult films, them adult movies on Showtime and HBO. And you know what I'm saying? For those of y'all that know, y'all know. It just wasn't any different. You sit there just turn the volume down real low, get up real close to the TV so you can still hear, you know. And I remember that was how I ended ended the Cell Saga. That was how I ended the Cell Saga. I remember. And it really blows me because it's like so much of my life has been impacted by fictional characters. You know what I mean? Fictional characters that somebody just had the idea to draw. And for a long time, and there's still a part of me that would love to be able to create something like that. You know what I mean? And I have my I have my stories and all that kind of stuff that I used to draw. I used to be in class, and I used to taking notes in class and writing my my own anime characters and all that kind of stuff. And it was just because it inspired me. And it's just crazy to think, you know, this mortality thing is just something else. It's just because, you know, you look at these people and they almost don't seem like humans. You know what I mean? Akira Toriyama, Oda, Masashi Kishimoto. These people don't seem like humans for real. And you got to remember that they are human. And it's like they left a legacy that's so strong that it's going to be remembered forever. It's going to be remembered forever. And it's just, I guess it's just inspiring because, but it's also scary because it's like we got so little time and we have to make an impact while we're here because they'll live forever. Their names will live forever. And because their names will live forever, they're immortalized. They left their impact. They left their impact on the world. And they made the world a better place when they were here just by drawing and telling stories. I couldn't imagine my life if I didn't have Dragon Ball Z, if I didn't have anime. I can't imagine. Sometimes those Dragon Ball Z conversations, those Pokemon versus Digimon conversations was the only way I was going to be able to connect with other people. Some of y'all don't really understand what it's like to not be not be like other people. I'm not a nerd. You know what I mean? I'm not a nerd at all by any standard, but I'm geeky. You know what I mean? I'm geeky. So it's like there is no real social clique you can really put me in. You know what I mean? I'm not nerdy enough for the nerds. You know what I mean? Like, I was in bands, so you could put me in the band geek category, but it's like I'm not really, like I said, I'm not nerdy and I'm not as geeky as the geeks. So it's like, you know what I mean? But I'm not as cool as the popular people. Not as gangster as the thug crowd. You know what I mean? So it's like guys like me, there is no, you know what I mean? You just go through school just being a, you know, you're just a nobody. A lame is what they would call it. You're a nobody. So, and thank God I just was able to make some good friends. So I was able to have a social life at least somewhat eventually. But a lot of my early life was spent watching TV. Watching TV, watching anime, looking up anime, looking up Pokemon, Digimon, learning everything I could learn because guess what? I didn't have nothing better to do. Might as well know it. Especially when I remember when I first learned how to use the internet to actually look up stuff. Man. Be on so many Digimon websites, Dragon Ball Z websites. The Digimon websites were better, you know? And it was just so much so much of my life was spent like that. And to a lot of people, it would seem miserable. And even to me, it kind of seems miserable sometimes. But that's the only thing I had to really get me through because I was a lonely kid. You know what I mean? And even lonely now, you know what I mean? But it's like I'm just saying it's just crazy. And it's like when you see people that you like really respect or that have actually had an impact on your life and you see them pass away, it just really puts things in perspective. And that's why it took me a little while to actually comment on this because it's rough. It's hard. It's hard. It's genuinely hard because at the end of the day, it doesn't mean that Dragon Ball is over. It doesn't mean that it'll stop. But it was something special about Dragon Ball Super actually having Akira Toriyama's input in it. I'm sure there's probably notes and plans and stuff for the continuation of the series. I'm pretty sure that it'll keep going. It'll still be popular. But it was something special. He came back to do that. It's just, I'm just glad that he was able to make such an impact while he was here. But people, what about the sacrifice that he had to give up? And you know what I mean? It's just like, yeah. But yeah, I mean, I don't know, guys. I mean, I don't really want to make a long video or get too like emotional or anything like that. But it's like I had like a depressing childhood, and it's like I just couldn't imagine if Akira Toriyama decided not to do that story. What would my life be like? Because if Akira Toriyama never did what he did, then we wouldn't have a Naruto because the Naruto creator was directly inspired by Akira Toriyama. So many other anime were inspired by Masashi Kishimoto. So, I mean, all these different things that were such an important aspect, like just aspect of my life, if he had never picked up the fucking pen, had never just put himself out there and created a masterpiece. And I know that there's people that love to say that Dragon Ball is not a masterpiece, or it's trash, the storyline is trash, the characters are trash, all that kind of stuff. It's just, you know what I mean? But at the end of the day, Dragon Ball is a masterpiece. It's a masterpiece because it inspired other people. Like the lady said, it inspired a genre, even though you could tell that they really didn't know what they were talking about. But, you know, I mean, I don't expect them to. Give them their grace. But at the end of the day, Dragon Ball was a masterpiece. It was a masterpiece. And I just want to salute Akira Toriyama and thank you for your service and everything that you've done. Changed my life, sir. Thank you. And I hope you can rest in peace.